Autosport is presented by Honda and Honda HPD, the SVRA. And if you haven't checked on SVRA lately, you need to look into them. Tony Pirelli, the owner, also now owns the Trans Am Series, and he owns the Formula 4 Series. They're doing a lot of things, so go to svra.com and see what they're doing. They're really growing like by leaps and bounds. We're also presented by Speedway, McGilvery's in Speedway, as well as VP Insurance, located at 5004 West 16th Street in Speedway. Get a hold of Mike Pardee if it's time to renew your insurance and see what he can do for you. You'd probably be surprised, like most of us have. You get better coverage for less money. He's located at 5004 West 16th Street in Speedway. You give him a call, tell him what you need, he can tell you what he can do for you. Number is 317-248-0070. And if you've ever wondered, what's it like to drive an IndyCar? Well, you can find out what it's like to ride in one. You go to the Indy Racing Experience and take a ride in the two-seater. You'll see what it's like, and you'll be surprised at the speeds. But you'll think you're going 250 miles an hour, and you're going 190. Go to IndyRacingExperience.com, find a date that'll work for you, and sign up for it. And in the promo box, put Don K, and you get a 50% discount. Welcome again to the autosportradio.com 2022 show. I have a very special guest today, a very interesting young lady who has had a lot of involvement in her career in motorsports, primarily in motorsports, and very strangely, how you got into it. You were born and grew up around Road America. Is that what got you hooked on the sport?
Almost. Yes, almost is the answer for that. I did grow up outside of Road America in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin, and spent my college years working at a well-known resort on the race circuit called Siebken's Resort, and was introduced to the track by all the racers who used to come hang out at the resort when they came into town for IMSA racing and Trans Am and obviously IndyCar at the time, and met some people from Newman Haas Racing, and I thought I'd go join the circus for a year or two, and here I am 30 years later.
Yeah, but you started out in the hospitality and cooking business with Newman Haas Racing, which is the hard way to start, obviously. But it's obvious that you got into the sport of motorsports and got your foot in the door, and it hasn't stopped you yet. You've had some interesting jobs, none the least of which was working at Nike.
I did, yep. So started in motorsports. I'd like to tell everyone I cooked Michael's porridge, Michael Andretti's porridge, one of my first jobs. Worked my way up, got to do some other jobs in NASCAR, worked for Goodyear and Craftsman on their NASCAR programs, and then went to work for a little company called Nike for almost a decade where I got to do some really great things. I'm actually missing the Pro Bowl this weekend. It was one of my favorite events that I worked on right before I left when I worked on Nike football. It was great. I learned a lot. I tell everyone I got my master's in marketing by working for someone who paid me to learn to be a great marketer. So I thank everybody at Nike for that. And then here I am, back where I started.
Was your goal marketing? And if so, did you study marketing in college?
I actually didn't. I went to college thinking I was going to go to med school.
Ooh.
And the only way I could get in all my pre-med classes or requirements was to have either become a biology or a chemistry major, or decide to follow my mom's footsteps and get a teaching degree where I could have a science minor. And then it was about time for me to start studying to go to med school, and I said, forget it. I'm not going to school. And I met those people from Newman Haas, and off I went running around the race circuits.
Being in marketing, what does marketing bring to motorsports? I mean, what is your job in marketing? Do you work with teams, you work with series sponsors, or do you work with both?
I work with all of our stakeholders. So my job and our marketing and communications or PR team's job is to grow the fan base for IndyCar, right? So that's our job day in and day out, is to find ways to, one, take care of our existing fans and make sure that they feel connected to the sport and have the things that give them joy around the sport. And then also attract new fans. So finding new fans to come in who become, maybe watch one or two races, come to one or two races. And then our job is to get them reattached. So they go to more and more races, watch more and more races, and then what we like to call our most avid fans or most passionate fans become an IndyCar evangelist. So they're out there evangelizing the sport of IndyCar and hopefully bringing in their friends and family as well.
If a company, does a company approach you and say, we'd like to get involved in the series, or do you have to go out and knock on doors? And if you knock on doors, do they know who you are now?
That's a great question. So I work really closely. So there's a group within IndyCar called Partnerships and Sales. So we work really closely together. And I'll tell you what, I think that some of the, a lot of the momentum that IndyCar's had over the last couple of years, people are coming to us, which is great. And some really big brands who want to be involved and see the opportunities with IndyCar to grow their brands and connect with our fans. But, there's certain categories that we want sponsorship in, that we have to go find people and to your point, knock on doors or, find ways that hopefully I know someone who knows someone there and that old networking thing to find your way in. That's typically the way we go about it.
Networking is huge, and I think that's the secret to it. Now, a company comes on, they want their brand to get out to the public. And in addition to being involved with the series, they have, in the case of Indianapolis, 350, 400,000 people that they can be in front of. What are the benefits? Do they have access to tickets and passes for their company people to come and use the paddock club to sit and entertain and chat and so forth? Is those some of the things that are available?
Yes, you want to come work for me? Come on. No, you're absolutely right. So really what our team does is when we have a new partner or sponsor interested is we really want to find out what's valuable to them, right? So being able to host people at a race and get them close to the sport might be one thing that they're interested in, and we build that into their package. Or maybe they're really interested in showing up and having ways to connect with fans on our website or social media. And then sometimes it's, wanting to be part of the NBC broadcast. So we're able to negotiate on their behalf with NBC so that they have an ability to come in and promote their brand in and around our races. So they're all custom packages based on what's important to the sponsor.
I've got to think, particularly for the sponsor that Mr. Magnuson has, it's a European chocolate company, having Romain Grosjean join the series with Felix in, so forth, that the European viewership is starting to grow. So now that company will get the exposure in Europe where they are. Plus, I would think it would open a door for more of them to get involved in the series because of the exposure in Europe now with these guys coming here.
Oh, for sure. We two things on that, on our growth overseas. So first and foremost, absolutely, especially in Europe, we the last 2 years have done some research on how many hours of IndyCar content are aired across the globe in almost every country. So we're in 150 countries with all of our international broadcast partners. And interestingly enough, Sweden shows the most broadcast content of IndyCar racing every season and quite exceeds even the U.S. So they're mad about it. I think some of it is obviously we've got Marcus and Felix in now, and Magnuson is over for the race as well in Road America last year. So definitely seeing growth in our TV broadcast kind of content in general. And then secondly, hopefully a lot of your listeners took the time to take our fan survey that just ended last weekend. Mm-hmm. And we had, I'll give you a little spoiler, we had responses from over 147 countries globally. So I think one of the big takeaways from the group that's working on it with us is, well, we're North America-based race series, we're really have international reach because of our driver lineup and the interest that they bring from their home countries.
And strangely enough, although maybe not strangely, the Europeans and South Americans that have run Formula One coming here, they love this series because everybody's competitive. Any team I made the mistake of telling Mark Miles, on any weekend there's any 8 or 10 guys that come, and he said, no, there's 15 or 20 that could possibly win. The series is that strong, and Romain has been very vocal about how exciting this racing is and how much fun it is.
Yes, he has been a delight to welcome into our driver lineup and our mix, and our fans love him, obviously, and he's bringing a lot of fans over from Formula One. He told me last year after the Barber race that he had so much fun because he actually got to drive the car.
Yeah, that's what he said.
He also said it was one of the most challenging race courses he's ever been on, which, from everything I hear, that's very true. It's a very technical and tough course to run. So
he made the comment when I talked to him one day briefly, because there were fans around. I don't want to take up his time, so I just asked. He said, "These cars you actually drive, Formula One's got so much downforce, hopefully you can turn it right. But Indy cars, you got to drive. It's got downforce, but not as much. You have to drive the car," and he loved that.
Yeah, he loved it.
And I just see that recently you signed a contract for Brazil, so that there'll be more exposure down there.
Yeah, we're very excited. So we're working on laying out our entire international package for all the fans globally. But yes, it was shared that we signed a agreement with ESPN, the Deportes, for Latin America. So we will be on ESPN through almost every Latin American country. We are going to stay with Brazil and Argentina. We've had some great relationships with some other Cultura, which is really their public broadcasting system, which puts us into a lot of households in Brazil. So yeah, that'll be really exciting. And I know Pato fans will be very excited to be able to watch him every weekend.
You know, the neat thing I think people are finding when they get involved in the sport and follow it, that the drivers in IndyCar are available. They're approachable. You can talk to them, not when they're putting their head on. Standing next to the car is not a good time. But if you see them, they won't run you over in their scooter to get away. They will stop, pose for pictures, sign autographs, and answer questions, which I think is building heavily into, fan following. And I think, people are realizing these guys are real guys, real people we can actually communicate with, and they're willing to do it. And as being with IndyCar, you know that they have somewhat of an obligation to make 4 or 5 appearances a year. Most of them will make more than that if they're available, because they realize with nobody in the stands, which they did here 2 years ago, it ain't fun.
No, our guys and gals now, so excited to be able to say that, they're some of the best in the sport. And, I think they're all down-to-earth people for the most part, although you kind of also have to have a little bit of a chip on your shoulder to do what they do, right? And take that risk on every time you go to work. But you always hear about, especially fans of other sports and motorsports, they just can't believe how accessible and approachable our drivers are. And I think that's something that we really want to celebrate and continue to lean into.
I've had a lot of emails about this new Formula One program that's on Netflix. I had Connor Daly on, and he was very vocal about a good idea so that the fans understand who we are and see what we do. And I was told we're working on that, and he's involved in it. So the little sneak was kind of helping get people behind him, I'm sure.
He likes to rile people up, and I love that about him. Yep, Connor's right. Content and the streaming platforms have created a whole new opportunity for us to get people into our sport outside of having to sit down and watch a race. Because sometimes if you don't really know what's going on during the race, it's hard to understand why you should pay attention, right? So, we are working on it. I actually was just on a phone call with one of the groups we're working with right before I came in, and have another call with them this afternoon. And we're hoping that before St. Pete, we'll be able to make an announcement, or shortly thereafter, on at least one, if not maybe 2 projects that will put us on some new media partners showcasing IndyCar through a slightly different lens.
That's excellent. And as I told you when I asked you about it, I said if I was 60 years younger, I'd have been knocking on doors saying, I'm going to do something. But it's in your hands.
We'll find a way for you to have a cameo. That way you can be part of it.
There was something else that I was going to ask you that just slipped my mind. The media contact, Facebook and sort of things, what is available and what can fans, as silly as I am, I get most everything anyway, so I don't think to find it. So where can people find out what's going on? Because A lot of people have said to me over the years, well, it's the season's off, everybody's on vacation. No, they're not. This is when the work gets done.
That is absolutely correct. Yeah, our team is busiest right now trying to get all the things in place. But so IndyCar.com is the best source for a lot of people to find the information and the latest and greatest on IndyCar. All of our news, as soon as it's released to media folks like yourself, is shared on our website for our fans to find. We also like to make sure that you can find other news that maybe we're not breaking, but we're helping support, like team announcements and such. That's actually featured in a column on our main page under other news or the latest news from the paddock. So you can look there. And then the other place for folks that really like social media, Instagram, Twitter, are two key places that we typically also, at the same time we post on IndyCar.com, we'll make sure that fans who like to get their information from their social media get that in their phone right away as well.
Something I found interesting for an upcoming event this year, it's a two-race weekend, is Hy-Vee.
Yes.
Now, I've heard of Hy-Vee. I know a friend who, my son works for them. I've talked to several of the people, and I think there's around 90,000 employees. It's a company-owned business. There are around 90,000 employees, and they've really gotten behind this. They are sponsoring Jack Harvey, is his primary sponsor. And I hear their logo is, if you don't know Hy-Vee, you don't know Jack. I know, he was here for 3 or 4 days.
I have heard that, yes. I think that's one of their campaigns.
Yeah, and I've heard he was here for 3 days filming commercials. And they're going to open one of their biggest stores is going to be opening up in Zionsville, I believe. They're working on it.
Yes. So they are based in Des Moines, Iowa, and our regional grocer. Their shopping experience is amazing. I've been through one of their stores, and they've been with Rahal Letterman Lanigan for a number of years, and they're going to be with Jack this year full time. And they have embraced IndyCar racing, and they're going to partner with us on the Iowa doubleheader. And their goal and our goal is to really make that the ultimate IndyCar fan fest. And they're going to bring in some really big name music acts for concerts before and after the races on Saturday and Sunday. So you get a race ticket and you get a concert ticket for both days. So buy your tickets now. That announcement of who's going to be performing should be coming in the next couple weeks. But yeah, they really see IndyCar. A lot of our fan base is Midwest.
Right.
A bulk of our fans are in the Midwest, and they're expanding into Kentucky, Indiana, and I believe Michigan or Ohio. I can't remember which one it is, but they'll be in, I think, 10 states then. And they have a really great product, and we're really excited to have them on board.
They have some unusual things that most grocery stores don't have. Plus, their main thing is customer service.
Correct.
A lot of times you go into these stores and you can't find somebody to ask a question. What is this, or how do I use it? And that's not there. Plus, you go into a store and they have racing stuff in the store.
They're going to help us really, engage, or like I said, engage the fans that live in the Midwest, and hopefully introduce IndyCar to a whole new set of fans. And in fact, they're very digitally focused in terms of how they, serve customers, at least before they even get into the store. For those of you who will see Jack Harvey anywhere at a racetrack this year, he'll have one of those QR code logos on his chest. We were making fun of him a little bit at Content Day. The guys were taking pictures with their phones and wondering where the QR code would take them. But it's a way that they're going to put out promotions and special offers for their fans. So if you think about every time you take a picture of a driver at a racetrack, if you take a picture of Jack Harvey, you're going to get served up a Hy-Vee offer to buy something from them or get something from them. And I think it's genius, and I love their forward thinking.
And that said, if anybody is watching it as a company and they say, maybe this is something we should look at, because there is so much that IndyCar can do to help build a brand. You might think, well, it's racing. Yeah, but the people in the grandstands have jobs, they have homes, they have, they need things, and you may have something they need and get involved in the sport. And you can help them get the name out very easily. Also, do you recommend when a sponsor comes with a team that they do, or with a series sponsor, to have a team as well?
Yeah, that's one of the things we really like to know about the sponsors, what their goals and objectives are. And if they start talking with the series and based on what they're trying to do, we think a team might be a better fit for them. We'll introduce them to some teams that maybe make sense for them. And then, vice versa, especially the Rahal, Letterman, Lanigan team have been really great because they're bringing sponsors in, folks like United Rentals, Hy-Vee. I feel like there's one other one that we've been talking with, the People Ready group, that allowed us to add another cool campaign for our drivers to maybe win some big dollars this year. So it's, I think what we've done in the last couple of years, and Jay Fry's been a big proponent of this, is building trust within the paddock so that, back in the other old days, you didn't want your sponsor to meet the series people because you didn't want the series to steal them and
Right.
vice versa. And I think now we all know that to make it all keep moving in the right direction, we work together, we respect each other, and help people, support IndyCar the best way for them.
Well, in the early days, as you mentioned, that did happen. That irritated the living heck out of me because I've pointed out numerous times if you steal a sponsor and there's nobody in the stands, that doesn't help a thing.
No.
It's got to work both ways, and the right people are in place right now, and then a gentleman joined. And when I recommended that you talk to him when he got here, they'll say, no, he won't. I guarantee he won't. And you probably know who I'm talking about. Yes. So listen, I appreciate you taking the time. I think what the staff is doing now is nothing but helpful. And it says a lot when you got guys that have run Formula One where they make a boatload of money
For sure.
to run, but come here because they're competitors and there's competition in this series that isn't in any other series in the world. And I think that says a whole lot for everybody, starting with Roger Penske and Mark Miles and Jay Fry and all the people like yourself that are helping build it and push it. And I think it's great. Look forward to going to some races this year and looking up at the grandstand and say, wow, they're open again, and here they are.
We'll be happy to see you out at the track, and we hope to have the fans back, and look forward to seeing everybody there.
Thanks for your time. I appreciate it, and we look forward to somewhere down the way. Unfortunately for you, I know how to find you, and we'll get a hold of you again and see how things are going.
That sounds great. I look forward to it.
Thank you. Guest, the Vice President of Marketing for the IndyCar Series, and doing a spectacular job, S.J. Luedtke. Thank you for being here. We'll have more guests upcoming, so stick with us. Until the next time, Don Kay saying thanks for being here. I want to thank Bill P. from Speedway TV for producing this. We'll see you next time. Thanks.